Hello, my name is Elle. Welcome to Legal Progressive. I'm here with Jay,
Hey,
and we're going to be discussing a little bit about the legal landscape from a progressive perspective. So, I'm a law student currently, and I've always had my interest in progressive spaces. So I am here with a colleague, Jay, who is going to be helping me discuss some of these issues today. Our main focus will be immigration. And
there's a
so,
lot to talk about.
absolutely. And so I guess I'll start a little bit with just a bit about myself. Like I mentioned, I'm a law student. I have been involved in a bit of organizing and activism around the area and where I'm from locally, as well as where I go to law school. I've always been interested in specifically criminal defense and criminal procedure. It's very important to me, and I think it's very important to the average citizen to know their rights and make sure that they are not being violated in any way.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this on this podcast. I'm excited to go forward.
Of course, thank
So,
you.
how did you get into law?
Right. I mean, like I said, I've always been very interested in that criminal procedure. I think that there are ways in which the government can overstep, whether it's local police, federal police, as or enforcement, like we'll discuss later today. And I think that that really developed a passion in me. So ever since I was about 13 years old, I've wanted to work in that field and try to do what I can to combat those kinds of actions or oversteps.
Wow, 13?
Yeah, just about. I think I did some, mock trials, and really it helped solidify that interest.
Mock trial in high school.
Yeah, of course.
What are you doing these days?
Yeah. So no, this past summer I worked at the LA County Public Defender's Office. So I got to do some very interesting legal work there and get to know kind of the legal landscape that we're working in these days. So I've done that. I've also been, like I said, kind of organizing with or working with community outreach as these immigration enforcement has really taken the not just
Center stage.
so of course, and taking the world by storm a bit, or the nation at the very least. And so what I've been doing and getting involved in are groups that will do what they can to support the families that have been affected. Specifically, 805 Immigration Coalition, such a huge, just a huge network of support and local community members, community leaders, people
Yeah.
who are really trying to do what they can to speak out.
Really great work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
My club, actually, Progressive People's Club, is now within the coalition as well.
Oh, it's
And
I
we,
didn't know that.
we
That's
are,
great.
looking forward to attending the first meeting and helping out in any ways that we can.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Okay, yeah, and I would just that's the last thing here, kind of about those organizations, is just
Yeah,
shouting
yeah.
out all those volunteers and the people who have really dedicated their time to it. Local organizing is one of the most important things you can do, even if you're not in the, as you put it, center stage,
I
of the
agree.
action. Like there is the people in LA County. I mean, we're really huge these past few months. So even if you're not directly in the action like that, there's really impactful stuff that can be done on a local level.
It is really important to get involved, speak out
Absolutely.
for your community members, and your friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
So should I tell a little about myself?
Yeah, please.
I am a local activist in Ventura County, fighting on behalf of immigrants and their families is very important to me, but I also fight on behalf of many different issues, such as sustainability, housing, education, women's rights, for Palestine, many different issues.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you. Props to you as well.
This podcast is going to be specifically about immigration, and this podcast episode, we are intending to. I mean, there's a lot to cover, obviously.
There is too much.
Too much.
We're not gonna cover it all today.
Yes. It's an
this will
ongoing battle.
span multiple episodes,
Yes.
but we can at least tackle the first part and catch you guys up on what has been happening recently.
Absolutely. All right, so I think the first thing to really kick us off with this landscape here is a history of immigration enforcement in the United States, specifically the agency Immigration and Custom Enforcement, known as
Known as
ICE.
ICE.
Yeah, ICE.
ICE. So the creation of ICE, it was first created under the Homeland Security Act in response to 9/11 in 2003. It was passed.
Right.
The budget progressively got worse, progressively increased from about $3 billion in 2003 to $9 billion in 2024.
Right.
Then massively jumped
Right.
threefold, thanks to the One Big Beautiful Act. 30 billion has now been allocated to ICE.
Right. Yeah, that's the most funding that ICE has gotten in its history, in just about a little over 2 decades of operation.
And it's supposed to increase.
Yeah,
Even
supposedly
next
to be
year.
more. So
Devastating.
very very devastating. I mean, there's as we'll discuss a little bit further in this episode, there's definitely a lot of concern about the rapidly increasing detentions, and I think that an increase in funding to this magnitude doesn't bode well, unfortunately. So I think one of the good things to discuss as we get the framework in place here is a difference between improper entry and unlawful presence. So this is a bit different than the history of ICE, the agency, but just about immigration and the enforcement of that. So there are two different legal issues, I guess is the best way to put it, with that whole undocumented immigration. It's not always from a improper entry into
Right.
the United States.
Right.
In many cases, it's an unlawful presence, which kind of discuss some statistics later. But an improper entry, that is an actual crime. It is a misdemeanor. It satisfies elements. It has the criminal burden of beyond a reasonable doubt, as every crime does, and it's a federal law. So there's three elements to it. It's entering or attempting to enter the United States at a time or place other than designated by immigration officers. It can also be eluding examination or inspection, attempting to enter or obtain entry by willfully concealing, falsifying, or misrepresenting material facts. So there's, it carries a much higher burden, this criminal charge of improper entry.
So that does include people that write mistakenly on their applications, like their address or
Yeah, I mean, it depends a bit.
or just some simple mistakes.
Yeah, because of the willfully part of that third element, I think they would have to prove that it was willful, that it wasn't just a mistake. But it's a bit difficult with the unequal application of certain laws. So I mean, I can't speak to any specific scenarios, but it is leaving a lot of room for fear and worry for people. But the main reason I wanted to bring up that improper entry is to distinguish it from unlawful presence, which
And
is
what is that?
So that's a civil offense. The same way that getting a traffic ticket is a civil
Right.
offense. You will get, a fine, a ticket. Civil offenses are different, and it's a lot of that can be overstayed visas. People who come into or enter the United States lawfully or properly, quote unquote, as the law would define it, and it's overstayed visas. It's people who have gone through some vetting procedure by entering the United States with their lawful documents, their visas, and then just overstaying. Not just visas. I mean, it can apply to green cards. People who do not get their green cards renewed, things of that nature. I mean, you're technically unlawfully present in the United States. So those are just two things that I think it's important.
In other words, they're not hardened criminals, but they can be held civilly liable.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare to find someone that hasn't gotten a speeding or parking ticket. So if we can kind of think about it in similar terms. But
Yeah,
I mean, what this
okay.
comes down to is that there are differences in the way that we should be talking about and kind of understanding this issue from a legal perspective, from a legal framework. And I think that there are some misconceptions about the crime of improper entry and the civil offense of unlawful presence.
So let's get into what's happening in the legal landscape right now, or just in general. We can also talk about this.
Yeah, of course. So right now, I mean, since Donald Trump's election, re-election, I should say, he has rolled out a lot of new policy changes that have rapidly increased immigration enforcement across the United States. So the way that this has manifested, or especially in the context of these of the distinction that we just talked about with overstays, visa overstays, and unlawful presence, quote unquote, versus the improper entry. According to a study by the Center for Migration Studies of New York, there is there was evidence that since 2007, visa overstays have outnumbered undocumented border crossers by 500,000. So there's just some interesting landscape to think about as we're discussing immigration. Tens of thousands have been detained by ICE since 2025 began. And ICE detentions are continuing to rise. This issue is ongoing. Track Immigration, TRAC, has some good specific numbers that are updated bi-weekly, I believe, about ICE detention. So currently, there's over 50,000 that have been detained by ICE for this most recent bi-weekly report. And since 2025, there's been an average of just 29% of those people having criminal records. And then an extra 22% if we want to talk about pending criminal charges. But I always grew up in the land of innocent until proven guilty. So
Me too.
I try not to consider
how
that.
Things should be. That's how people should be viewing this. But
right. But
unfortunately, that's not the era that we're living in.
No, exactly. And I mean, even if we
people
are to
are
consider,
automatically considered guilty.
Yes, and even if we're to consider those pending criminal
if they speak
charges,
Spanish, or if they are another color, have another skin color than other people.
Yeah, I mean, even if we're to take those two figures and put them together, these are averages. I mean, some, especially early 2025, it was just about 14% having criminal charges. I mean, it's a very difficult landscape right now. And like I said, those averages with the most recent biweekly report being, I believe in August, June 13th. So we're actually due for one fairly soon. I don't know when the new update will be, but
we'll for sure
talk
about it
discussing. It's
when it comes out.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that has just been an issue. So I actually do want to discuss and kind of talk about some of the stuff that Trump has been saying and some of the Trump affiliates here. Yes. I mean, when we talk about the landscape, when we talk about these issues, it's really important to understand just what we're up against and what the cultural zeitgeist is about immigration in the United States. So here, we're actually going to play a few quotes from Trump as recent as 2025 and as far back as 2023. So here, we can start with his inaugural address. He has this to say.
It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders.
Yeah, so that was Donald Trump talking about the American government, actually, during his inaugural address. So we'll discuss it more thoroughly, but I actually like to play another one from a rally in Durham, New Hampshire. I'll just let it speak for itself.
Yeah, let's listen to this one.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be terrorism.
Terrorism is going to be, those are words of wisdom there. But I mean, I just think it's interesting before we play the next video that, you mentioned not just South America, it's also Africa and Asia, the other people of color around this world that are out to get you. So just very
you can't
interesting.
Forget about those.
Very interesting rhetoric here. I'll play this next clip as well.
That's where disease comes from, China.
I mean, the parallels with just other times in history where
Nazi Germany
people have been dehumanized. It's just, we want to be careful as knowledgeable citizens, as knowledgeable civilians. We want to be making sure we're not making similar mistakes. So here, I'll play
I
this
agree.
last one, which is this was actually at a campaign event that happened in 2024 in Grand Rapids.
Oh, I think I remember this one.
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. Nancy Pelosi told me that. She said, please don't use the word animal, sir, when you're talking about these people. I said, I'll use the word animal because that's what they are. I'll never forget my vow to her wonderful mother, father, and sister.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the rhetoric here is discouraging, but I just think it's really important as we're discussing these kinds of things, or at the very least, what the Trump administration is kind of framing as this, going after the worst of the worst, again, with this dehumanizing language. I mean, animals.
I mean,
That's
really
speaks for itself, really. I mean, granted, I
not expecting much, but
Right.
this is a low for America.
it's just the association of every undocumented immigrant that is here present in our country as being an animal. Whether or not that was the intention, it paints a clear image using the words or the phrase that he uses frequently in this specific campaign event. Criminal alien animals, I think was the
Criminal alien animals.
criminal alien animals. I mean,
That's a
how-
mouthful.
Those are three of the most dehumanizing words you can call someone in this day and age. That isn't a
It's called them
slur
murderers,
epithet.
rapists.
I mean, it's tough. It's a difficult situation here. And for the listeners, we also will have all three of these videos linked in some way or another with timestamps. So feel free to listen to the entire context. But this is
Please
information
do.
that we're
This is very important
trying to
information that I think everybody needs to know.
absolutely.
And let their friends, colleagues, family members know, neighbors, that this is not, this does not represent the community.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
way he is talking about them, the way all of the Trump officials are talking about immigrants.
I mean, to have the leader of your nation be saying such I mean, we think about some of the worst actions that have been done by groups of people in our world, in our society, in our history of the human race, and
Yeah.
it started with this othering of people. And I think that as we go through this situation and as we navigate these these policy issues, these policy considerations, the one thing we absolutely cannot forget is that a person is a person, a human
They are
being.
people,
And
just like you and
that's
me.
really important. Well, and that does lead us to some due process issues, which we will be talking about later as well. But I do
yeah.
want to actually touch on one other quote from Kristi Noem, or it's actually from Tricia McLaughlin, an assistant secretary at DHS, the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay.
Well, she was calling the assessment that ICE isn't targeting immigrants with a criminal record false. In other words, I know that's confusing, but what she said was that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has directed ICE to target, and I'm quoting here, the worst of the worst, including gang members, murderers, and rapists. She did count detainees with convictions, as well as those with pending charges, as quote unquote criminal illegal aliens. And so I think it's really interesting, as we'll kind of discuss some of the actual data here, that this is the kind of, we're going after the worst of the worst, these criminal illegal aliens that are coming in and invading our country. I mean, the word invasion is used more times than the word immigrant is ever used in that inaugural address. Immigrant was actually not used at all. It's always invasion, alien. And that's, it's difficult. That's difficult to face with, and that's difficult to respond to.
That's part of their propaganda tactic.
Right.
They don't want people to see these people as immigrants. They
Right.
are illegal. They are aliens.
And
in their eyes.
Exactly. I mean, we want to talk about some of the truth, in light of these difficult statements that are said by, again, leaders of our nation. Now, this is actually a specific, we have some ICE data about the kind of threat levels, quote unquote threat levels, that ICE assigns to their detainees. Supposedly it's on a scale of 1 to 3, with 1 being the highest threat level, and then the lowest would just be not being assigned a threat level. As of June 23rd, which is the latest data available, 84% of people were not given a threat level. Another 7% had been given threat level 1, which is that highest. 4% level 2, and 5% were level 3. So when we talk about this threat level, I mean, there's less than or just over 10% that are even assigned a threat level for these things like this. And you know, as we mentioned before,
Ridiculous.
a non-negligible portion of undocumented immigration, or like just about half, is from overstayed visas. Mind you, that's visas that are given to individuals after, you know, they go through
After they
a
filled
vetting
out
process.
their application
course.
process, waited all this time.
So I mean, to make the whole like the in light of these
their
immigration
green cards.
practices that are happening,
Yep.
to make the assertion that we're going after the worst of the worst, when like we just mentioned with ICE's own data, that just about 51% of them have some brush with law enforcement, whether that's pending criminal charges or whether that is an actual criminal conviction. It does not outline the severity of those convictions, whether it is really just the worst of the worst, the rapists, the murderers. It's clear that that's not true.
It's very clear to me and everybody else who actually has opened their eyes to.
I mean, it's clear when you look at the data. You know, that's
clear
that's
when
the
you
craziest part.
Look
here.
at the data.
Yeah.
It's clear when you see these videos
Of
what
course.
they are doing to just these regular people just trying to live their lives.
Yeah, no, and actually, that's a great segue into, you know, what we kind of want to talk about next, which is, you know, what's going on right now with people specifically.
Yeah, I mean, people are getting picked up from their houses, their workplaces,
Right.
just off the street. I believe we have a video, right, of
Yes.
a pregnant woman actually getting pushed to the ground by ICE.
Yeah, so the very first case we kind of wanted to talk about in depth a little bit was a situation more local. So in Simi Valley, which is in Ventura County, a pregnant woman was pulled out of her car. Well, I can kind of take a step back here. I mean, I'll play the video of the people getting pulled out, and this pregnant woman who was taken to the ground by ICE. I mean, she was laid down on her stomach, and there's people yelling that she's pregnant. I mean, they're clearly in distress. So this was a scene that I had kind of happened
course.
upon. And the aftermath was brutal. So let's get right into watching the video, I think, and then we can kind of go through
And
the aftermath.
maybe
and-
describe it a little bit
Absolutely.
while it's happening.
Yeah, I can. We'll take some pauses and kind of go through a little bit. I think the audio,
Right.
you know, it kind of speaks for itself a little bit. But at the beginning, you're gonna see. So it was a couple. I think they were a married couple. Who were in their car and got stopped by ICE, and 2 of their windows were smashed in. In the first part of the video, we can kind of see the ICE agents trying to detain and apprehend the man that was in that car. And shortly after, the person recording goes around and starts screaming that the woman that they're taking to the floor, she's pregnant, that she's, you know, on the ground in front of a random family's house. I mean, there's just levels.
It's not her house. It's just
Exactly. It wasn't their house.
she's just
They
walking down the
were-
street.
Well, they were pulled over in their car outside that house.
Okay,
I think,
right.
yeah, and they had been this entire situation. Well, we'll get into the aftermath. Like I said, I have a video of kind of what was left there. Yeah, let's start with this lovely video.
Fucking human beings! Fuck! So, hey, she's fucking pregnant! Está embarazada, she's pregnant! She's fucking pregnant! She's pregnant! Get her off her stomach! She's pregnant! She's pregnant!
I mean, as you can hear already, I mean, we're just, well, not even 30 seconds into the video, and I mean, this woman, I mean, it's the video's lower resolution, it's kind of hard to see everything that's going on, but this woman, I mean, there's it looks like 2 or 3 at least agents on top of her, and there's just, you know, there's people upset. They see these things, they see what's happening to people, and this kind of, this, I mean,
Super distressing.
of course, I mean, it's hard to watch, it really is.
She's pregnant! Oh my god, you fucking pigs! You fucking pigs! ¿Cómo se llama, don? ¿Cómo se llama?
So, you know, like I mentioned, I happened upon this scene actually in person physically, and I
Wow.
saw.
Really?
yeah, I saw the ICE vehicles that were taking away the couple. I didn't get over there in time to record or to assist as it was actually happening, but the aftermath that was left behind was just like, it was shocking. I mean, genuinely. As someone who, like I mentioned before, I mean, I pride myself in criminal defense. I mean, it's something that I think is absolutely necessary in the way that our legal system is structured. I mean, defense attorneys are just as crucial as any other part of this story, you know. And the reason why is because there are rights that need to be protected for individuals, and these kinds of situations raise a lot of issues or questions about due process and in all honesty, proportional punishment. I mean, when you think to yourself about crime and punishment and what it means to, for example, I mean, steal a pack of gum at the store. You know, I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't think that you deserve to be beheaded for something like that, right?
I would hope not.
Proportional punishment, and I say that just as a general kind of thing to be considering here, is so important. And I see people, and you know, whether or not it's for this dehumanizing rhetoric that's, you know, just creating this rage in people, but when I see stuff like this, and I mean, you know, I do not know everybody's story. I do not know the story of every single person that has been taken by ICE, that has been
You don't need everyone's
abused
story.
by. I mean, yeah,
It doesn't matter.
That it doesn't.
It's dehumanizing behavior.
I find
that
it,
ICE is engaging
yeah,
in.
Absolutely. I find it super hard to justify that kind of force or that kind of treatment on anybody. Anyways, but I mean,
Even if they were guilty of a crime, it's still not.
I mean, there's reasons we have these laws in place, you know.
Still not right.
So the other big part here for me was I took a video of the aftermath that I walked up on, and this car had two windows smashed in. The car was left unlocked on the side of the street, like we mentioned before. I mean, this street. The car, they did not live in the house that they were detained outside of in a humiliating fashion. So this car was just left there. Both their IDs were still inside the car itself. Valuables over $100 in cash. And the car was had two busted windows, and it was unlocked. So me and someone else were able to retrieve those belongings pretty swiftly, fortunately enough, and get them in connection with the family. But knowing that you can lose, you know, anything that you would have in your, I mean, not having your identification taken with you, I mean, is just, I
mean, they clearly don't care who you are. They don't know who you are. They're just picking up random people.
Right. I mean, here I'll play the video of this aftermath real quick, and then we can kind of discuss a little bit about what it looks
They
like.
don't care to know who anybody is. They're not doing this because these people are hardened criminals. They're doing this because they are racist. Let's watch this.
Yeah. All right. So we're starting with a walk around the car. So we'll play the video here.
This is your video?
Yes. Yeah, this is the video I took. So I'm walking around the car here. I noticed there's a flip-flop just on the road. There's broken glass everywhere. Inside the car, outside the car. Some of their belongings, looks like some produce is strewn on the sidewalk. A cup. So I mean, yeah, it's difficult, and it raises the question of why two windows needed to get smashed in. There was one in the back passenger side, and then the driver's side as well was smashed in. So it's just it's hard in this situation, actively being there and you know, talking with neighbors or trying to figure out what happened, who was taken. I mean, there's just lots of difficult and emotional ramifications that come from something like this. So.
And I mean, those people, they're just driving by. I mean, thankfully you guys were there,
right.
To capture this, to capture the aftermath.
I mean,
of this.
if someone,
people are just driving by, they don't.
Right.
I mean, it is Simi Valley, as I know, is fairly red city. So I wouldn't expect as many people to stop by. get out of their cars. But
Well,
it's
it's
just
just-
stressing that people are just driving by and I don't know if they just don't care or if they don't have the time, but
I mean, it's
to
there
see
were
that
there were
and not
definitely
stop.
people that got out and were. I mean, when I
Oh,
showed
good.
up, there were tons of people filming. I mean, it was even from just a bystander's perspective, it was brutal, frankly. And I think that was the difficult nature of this whole thing. I mean, if there's people walking by and let's say, I wasn't there, other few folks that were helping out weren't there in that moment. I mean, those, all of the belongings in that car could or would have been taken. The car itself was left there for multiple days. I believe the family, actually, they had to make arrangements and try to get that away. But I mean, I had people coming out of that house asking when that car
hell?
would be moved, when, if the the glass, if the glass on the ground would be picked up or cleaned in any way. I mean, it's difficult when we are prioritizing swift action and ignoring the delicacy of the intrusion that this will create, not just for the families affected, I mean, predominantly for the families affected, but even just for people watching, for people whose lives have...
How traumatic it is.
Of course. I mean, it's difficult, and the problem is how normalized it's getting. It's almost normal to... And the other thing, too, that is really difficult is, let's say when an executive order or directive is given or things are making their way through the court. I mean, things that are or that should not be lawful may be deemed lawful for some time. And for some, that's enough. As long as it's written in the books, as long as it's quote unquote legal, they would be fine with destroying communities of people. And that's
I was just doing my
really-
job.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the Nazis said. Just
Well,
doing my job.
It's tough. I mean, so the other...
These these ICE agents are going to have to answer someday for what they are doing now.
I mean, we'll see if the...
Let's see what they
next
say.
administration
Probably just
will-
doing their job,
So there's another big local operation that happened on July 10th. There was a raid at the Glass House farm in Camarillo, which is a cannabis growing operation. They had greenhouses there and a farm. So it's commonly referred to as the Glass House raid because it was a raid of Glass House. So there was what started as a immigration response by community members who heard about the quite astronomically huge raid in comparison to the
Devastating.
stuff we had seen
Devastating
before.
raid.
It was devastating. And so there
300
was
people were caught up in this, as
absolutely.
I heard.
Yeah, and actually, I think this is a good time to even take a moment and read from a statement that 805 Immigration Coalition, which we mentioned earlier, is one of the local organizations that are doing what they can to help families affected. They wrote a letter to the Ventura County Board of Supervisors, and I actually want to read just a portion of that because it really helps with the understanding of how the Glass House raid, the July 10th raid, really affected people and the scale of it. So I'm reading here a portion from that letter. July 10th, 2025 has been marked in history as one of the most violent workplace raids our county and state has ever experienced. On that day alone, more than 300 people were detained and taken from Glass House farms in Camarillo and Carpinteria. The majority of workers detained live right here in Ventura County, and the harm hasn't stopped. Workers taken from our community that day remain detained in for-profit detention centers far away, even other states, or they already are outside the United States with dim prospects for return. Families were torn apart that day, and they're struggling to survive. Parents disappeared from dinner tables, children left without caregivers, entire communities remain gripped by fear. People are afraid to go to work, to school, to the grocery store, terrified they won't make it back home. The emotional, financial, and psychological toll is ongoing. With limited resources, community groups have stepped up in a makeshift way to support our community, but the harm done is wide-ranging and it cannot fall to philanthropy alone to address problems that affect the entire community. Support is needed to sustain those efforts long-term. Now, this was a bigger part of a letter urging the Ventura County Board of Supervisors to invest $2 million in both the legal defense funds for immigrants facing deportation. That's $1 million there, and another $1 million for legal support to help eligible families adjust their immigration status. So it's just a plea to have the Ventura County Board of Supervisors do what they can to financially support the communities in these trying times. I mean, what's said in the letter is absolutely... what's said in the letter is absolutely true. I mean, we can't rest on philanthropy alone,
Nope.
not to
We
protect our
need
communities.
governmental support here.
Right.
And this is actually what my other organization, this one that we are recording the podcast for, All Voices Loud,
Right.
we actually sent an email in the form of a public comment
Yes. No, that's wonderful.
to the Board of Supervisors, urging them to vote to give this money to immigrants and their families.
By the time this podcast episode airs, there may be some development in that area, but as of this current moment, not entirely sure if it has been voted on yet. But it's just something interesting to know that, people are doing what they can here, trying to make pushes and showing up for their community.
And we thank Supervisor Lopez for her proposal
Yeah, absolutely.
in conjunction with 805 Coalition.
So I do also want to mention, as part of the Glass House raids, the National Guard was called in, and what had started as a peaceful protest, a response to the raid itself, and in an effort to protect these community members, things escalated, and ICE wound up throwing tear gas canisters of different colors
Jeez.
into the crowd, as well as shooting rubber bullets. And so the barricade was out there throughout the entire day while the raid was happening. There have also been photos. There was aerial footage happening throughout the day as well of the workers standing or sitting near like the only 2 inches of shade they could find as they were waiting, told to put their belongings in brown paper bags in front of them. And these are all people who were detained just because they worked at this farm. They were conducting a raid to identify potential undocumented persons in that were employed or occupied in that area. And everybody was taken, like we mentioned earlier, and like it was in that letter to the Board of Supervisors, over 300 people were detained that day. And I think most notably, it wouldn't be right to be discussing this without also discussing Jamie Alanis. He is the man that worked on that farm, the Glass House farm, for 10 years in order to send money back to his family in Mexico. And in the chaos and commotion that was sparked by ICE's forceful raid into the farms, Jamie climbed onto a greenhouse roof and he fell 30 feet. He was put on life support, but eventually passed from his injuries in the days that followed.
To hear those details, I knew that it was very devastating, the raid on Glass House, but to hear those details, I wasn't there, but I know you were. So thank you for sharing.
I mean, it's difficult when situations like this. I mean, I was at the protest there. Everything I observed was peaceful, and and I had kind of come at the tail end of things just to offer some support. And even what I saw, I mean, it was just there was a barricade of National Guard members. There was members of the Army who were for much of the time, actually, just holding in their hands billy clubs, while they had another line of, I think it was ICE agents or something of this, or maybe DHS right behind them as well. So there was a lot of difficulty that day, and I think that it's a problem the moment that people would rather put themselves in danger to protect their life and their family.
It's heroic of people to be putting their lives in danger for others.
Right, but it's one of those things where
but it's
people shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't have to.
And I think that
agree.
especially in the case of Jamie Alanis here, it hits especially powerful.
Yep.
So I mean, that's much of what can be said or has been said about Glass House. But there's other arrests
It's
that have been
frightening, the
happening.
scenes that were
Absolutely.
coming out of there.
Yeah, I mean, there's
And
even
we should remember Jamie's heroic fight back.
I think that there's a lot of other arrests that have been happening and cropping up that are frankly, I mean, just also very horrifying. As early as or as recent as July 15th, there was a report of ICE arresting an Oregon chiropractor as he was dropping off his child at preschool. Supposedly, he had already applied for and been interviewed for a green card for lawful permanent residency. According to, I believe, a witness statement that was taken or something of the sorts, it may have just been an expiration of a green card. The details there are a bit unclear, but it is extremely troubling to hear that the expedited removal processes are prioritizing at every stage speed, swiftness, efficiency over doing things right. And that is, I mean, the common theme of these past few months. Tenfold. I mean, it's just been incredibly difficult. I mean, under the Trump administration, I mean, according to what happened to this Oregon chiropractor, if you overstay your visa by a day while waiting to hear back about your green card application, ICE can stop you and detain you in front of your child's school, traumatizing your child for life. And I mean, it's so difficult here to know that people are in danger who may not even know that they are in danger of being targeted by ICE at this
You
time.
might not even know that their green card expired. I mean,
Right. And that's
you're
part
not
of the
really
difficulty
paying
here.
attention to that if you're just trying to survive.
Right. And
That's
there's
what these people are really trying to do here.
right.
Because most of these people don't have that much money. They're
And
just
I
trying to
think
get by
so
and
ICE
help their families.
ICE arresting ICE has been arresting people. We've heard stories and reports of people on their way to immigration appointments, picking them up outside of courtrooms after hearings on their immigration cases.
Yeah.
There actually was a recent update in one of the cases about this. There was a lawsuit that was filed on March 24th of 2025 by a few named plaintiffs here, but the Coalition for Human Immigrant Rights, which is frequently referred to as CHIRLA. It's a common player in a lot of immigration advocacy. So this was a lawsuit that was filed against Kristi Noem et al. There's multiple defendants there, but particularly, as it says in the paragraph 1 of the complaint that was filed, it says this lawsuit challenges the Trump administration's various agency policies, expanding expedited removal to expose hundreds of thousands of people who entered the country legally through humanitarian parole processes to summary deportation. So there are people who have come into this country legally. They are not they don't fall under that improper entry definition we discussed at the beginning of this episode. There are people who came in legally through humanitarian parole processes and are now being exposed to summary deportation. Because expedited removal has been expanded so severely. And so just some updates about this case, as recent as today, there was so the judge in this case had actually ordered a stay, particularly that the actions of the Trump administration do not continue. And a big part of the reason why a lot of these legal documents or legal issues have to go through multiple factors, balancing tests, analysis, and we won't get into all the details of that today for this one. However, there are really interesting things that come into play here, specifically about the government having a substantial interest in carrying out the president's policies. A lot of the argument that the defense makes is particularly that the government's interest in quick deportation proceedings supersedes practically every other consideration. So it's I mean, it's an interesting argument. And all of the memorandums, the orders are all readily accessible. So I highly encourage any listeners to do their research, understand how these things kind of interplay. But
I mean, we are here as a resource. This is what we will be doing in upcoming episodes, is having L research and analyze court cases
of course,
and break them down for you.
no,
So you
absolutely.
can
We'll
understand them as well.
we'll have more of a legal tilt hopefully in the coming episodes. I just think it's interesting that one of the in the original motion that granted the stay, the agency stay against these expedited removal procedures, in the the order on the motion, there's a specific quote here on page 78 that says, but subjecting parolees to expedited removal likely violates the law, and there is generally no public interest in the perpetuation of unlawful agency action. And they had quoted directly from a case, Shawnee Tribe v. Mukin, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyways,
Okay.
I mean, there's just a lot happening here. The only recent update was there was a recent motion by the government to stay that order. Basically, I mean, in layperson terms, they had appealed. They wanted to make sure that they could still conduct agency operations while the appeal was processed or was being processed for this specific action. And what wound up happening, I thought was also kind of funny, was this was just issued on August 13th, so very recent, of 2025. And they had denied that appeal, particularly saying that, I mean, again, when we think about those balancing tests, one of the balancing factors they need to consider is whether the applicant of the stay will be irreparably injured absent a stay. And a stay is basically a stop what you're doing. That's the best way I can explain that. But and I found it interesting that, the government, Kristi Noem as the first named defendant here, Kristi Noem's argument, or her counsel's argument, is that they would be irreparably injured if the stay did not happen. And the judge, this is the Honorable Judge Gia M. Cobb, a United States District Judge, says, in contrast, issuance of a stay, going back on that order, would substantially injure plaintiffs' members, whom the court has found face imminent, irreparable injury from the challenged actions. So, I mean, the public interest, as the court had...
They're saying the plaintiff.
The plaintiff being Churla, the organizations that are working on behalf of these parolees. So basically what the court is saying is, no, we're not going to go back on our order because you're saying that the government's processes will be irreparably damaged or injured by this brief stay while we kind of go through the legal process here. They're basically saying that actually if we remove this stay, if we allow these expedited removals to happen, it's going to injure the plaintiffs' members of anybody, which is the Churla members, the parolees that are subjected to these removal processes.
Right.
So just some interesting current news in that landscape. But I mean, as these decisions are kind of going through the courts, we have bad news, but we also have good news. So just interesting stops.
This is a great update.
Absolutely.
It's so idiotic how Kristi Noem says that they are going to be injured. How are they going to be injured?
Yeah. Well, it's just the government is definitely prioritizing a vast and swift response in the immigration enforcement area. And I think that has been, they want to maintain that as a priority. Absolutely. So
Sure.
the last thing that I think we should discuss, because I don't think we
It's
can,
unfortunate.
yeah, I don't think we can, go through immigration and the current issues without discussing this. But as we've discussed a little bit before, the issues that have been happening to real people raises serious questions about due process, rules of civil detention, and quality of living conditions for these detainees. I mean, just before this bill, the big, beautiful bill, before that bill was passed, ICE did not have a significantly large budget that would allow detentions on this scale. And so what I think is particularly concerning is that the detentions are ramping up. These people are being abducted, they're being detained, and they don't have the detention facilities to accommodate that. It was kind of on a wait and see kind of whim, just doing it first and then trying to get the funding later. And I think that that's a really concerning kind of action. And, like I mentioned, Alligator Alcatraz, I mean, that's a huge, huge stain on America's reputation right now. There was a specific article I actually wanted to discuss.
Aren't they taking from FEMA funds or they were, as I understood it, they were taking from FEMA funds.
Oh yeah, they may be. I'm not entirely certain about how the funding has gone through with Alligator Alcatraz. I mean,
me either.
Even the name itself is just, we don't have to talk about. But I think there was a particular case that happened of a detainee that had been able to speak to his wife at a certain point, and NBC News was able to get some information or maybe even the recording, I think specifically from this inmate's wife there. So this named individual, his name is Rafael Collado. He publicly described the conditions that he's been enduring over the past 2 weeks.
Torture.
The main thing, and the thing that NBC News, has in big bold letters, is it's like a dog cage. That's a specific quote from this individual.
Oh man.
He is there's flood water from recent storms that are coming in. They have limited access to showers, and the poor sanitation has actually caused this particular detainee to get fungus on his feet. He is describing he described how detainees are stripped naked every time they're moved to a different cell, and there's no set schedule to take his blood pressure medication. And that recording that his wife was able to get was ended after a guard had told Collado to hang up. So the call had ended. I think it's just really, really important. I mean, in this specific detainee, Collado, he supposedly had been showing up to his immigration appointments for years. He was detained recently during a routine check-in at the ICE field office that he had voluntarily gone to. So I think it's just it poses that question again. I mean, who genuinely deserves to live in those kinds of conditions? Because I mean, as
I don't think anybody does.
Exactly. I mean, as people know, I mean, like I mean,
especially innocent
right
beings.
I'm a big proponent of, human beings deserve to be treated like human beings. I think, call me idealist, but I think that regardless of a crime that is committed, things that have been done, things that have been said, I think that there are very basic human decency, human rights that we are afforded as individuals just by virtue of being alive. And I think that when
they should be protected.
When our rights to dignity, there's a reason we have the 8th Amendment, right? Cruel and unusual punishment, it is number 8. It is contained within our Bill of Rights because we know how wrong it is when someone.
That's how important it was.
When someone wrong gets in a position of power, they can weaponize the law, and that's the problem. That's the big issue here.
Yep.
And I think it's a common theme among all of these immigration issues, all of these detention problems. And I think the big takeaway here is due process is not a privilege, it's a right. It is a right. And I hear many arguments from people that try to say that immigrants or non-citizens, I should say, non-citizens do not get due process rights because, as many probably know, they don't get certain other rights that we have. I mean, the First Amendment protections don't necessarily apply to non-citizens, et cetera, et cetera. But due process and the Fourth Amendment, your right against unreasonable searches and seizures, all of these things are things that are not born out of some privilege we get by being a citizen of the United States. It's born out of a mutual
being
respect we have with
human
our
being.
society. It's being human. Yeah. So I think that's just about it for our first podcast. Jay, is there anything you'd like to add?
No,
Anything you want to end on?
No, I think that is. Oh well, I mean, there are a couple other things that I think would behoove us to at least bring up right now.
Right.
Such as the incident at a nearby theater,
Right.
where
local
a black
issues.
boy was beat up, I think by like 10 white individuals.
Right.
And one of them was the son of a police officer.
Yeah, the issues keep coming in full force. There's lots of problems there, and there are also organizations, many of the same organizers that are working tirelessly to aid these families who have been targeted by ICE. Many of the same organizers that are also working to help this young black man. He's a teenager. He's 18 years old and was targeted for this. Quite frankly, a very awful and another hard watch. There's
Racist.
many videos of it, yelling the N-word. I mean, multiple
Targeted
times,
beating.
and yeah, it's a rough watch. But there's at least a growing
I'm
population.
sure Simi Valley Police Department will investigate fairly.
Yeah.
And honestly, come back with an investigation that was fairly looked into. Could have let the local sheriff department, take it over, but the mayor decided, no, Simi Valley PD, even though there is a son of a police officer that was implicated, we'll just allow them to investigate themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we.
It's not unusual. It's something that happened and it needs to be looked at.
We're gonna definitely be prioritizing transparency for all of our calls to action and going through this issue. It's been pretty big. We want to make sure that everything is handled properly, and that justice is really served for this for the victim in this situation. It's terrible. It really is.
For the victim, for every victim,
Yeah, absolutely.
of these ICE raids as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of
and
course.
I look forward to the next podcast episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you very much. Do what you can, stay informed. We will have a source sheet hopefully attached to this episode so that you can find the information that we are discussing and the basis behind it. Our priority is to give factual, real accounts of things that are happening both from the ground and from a legal perspective. So I hope you all have a safe and wonderful day.